Quitting your six-figure income to become a full-time YouTuber, that's exactly what Rob from Rob Built did, and I can't wait for you to hear this entire episode. Hey, welcome to the YouTube Made Simple show. My name is Heather Torres, author of the upcoming book, YouTube Made Simple, and host of this show right here on YouTube. So if you are interested in hearing conversations with YouTubers who made it simple and figured out a way to become full-time at this, then make sure you subscribe to this show. We're going to jump into today's interview with Rob Builds. Now, Rob was on a previous episode, but let me give you a little introduction. Rob started his YouTube channel in March of 2020. He had been doing short-term rentals, Airbnbs on the side of his six-figure income. He actually was able to grow his side business, his YouTube channel, as well as his real estate portfolio. And he recently quit his job to become a full-time content creator and real estate investor. This is so cool, and I can't wait for you to jump into this episode where we talk about how he did it, how he decided to move into this season, and how he was able to grow his YouTube channel to over 125,000 subscribers in just over a year. This is a great episode that you want to be locked into, so let's jump into today's conversation. To the YouTube Made Simple show. My name is Heather Torres and I'm your host, and I'm excited because I'm joined by Rob from Rob Build over on YouTube. We're in a two-part series talking all about how he went full-time on YouTube. Last week's episode was all about his 5 pieces of advice for new YouTubers, and today we're talking about how he took the plunge and went all out and all in on YouTube. So Rob, welcome to the show.
Hi. Oh my gosh. Long time no see.
I know. We're actually recording this just back to back. I didn't change my shirt. That's like YouTube 101, Rob.
That.
Oh, man. Usually I have like a stack of outfits where I just change from a black shirt to a white shirt to a gray shirt. It's my color palette for everything. And they get black on black today. So that's what they get.
Well, I just want to say I'm glad that you got the memo. Black long sleeve. So matching. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I sent Rob a text first and I was like, please make sure that we're matching on camera today. And he said, okay, no. So Rob, for the people who don't know you yet, tell us about your journey of how you got started and what you're doing on YouTube.
Yes, so my name is Rob and I have a channel called Rob Built, Robuilt. A lot of people think it's Robuilt. It's not, it's Rob Built. Like my name, Rob, built something. And I've been a YouTuber now for, I guess, about 20 months now, going on 21 months, somewhere in there. And I was a full-time copywriter for 8-9 years and just spent like any word that you ever saw in ads. I wrote scripts, I wrote tweets for car companies, for alcohol companies, for sports drinks companies. So I was very involved in the world of marketing before I ever started a YouTube channel, which definitely like helped me out a little bit in terms of critiquing my own work and self-awareness and everything like that. But yeah, in the 20 months that I've been a YouTuber, I've gone from 0 to about 120,000 subscribers. And, you know, it's really cool that I get to say that YouTube is my job. It's one of my jobs, but it's my favorite job.
Yeah, and we're going to dive into that because a lot of times people think that full-time YouTubers means that actually the only thing you're doing is YouTube. And that's such a misconception that I want to debunk on the show today. But let's go ahead and take it back a little bit. You just mentioned you were working a full-time job while you were building your YouTube channel. Talk about what that looked like. You know, how many hours were you working? What was that? What did it take to build to be able to go full-time?
Yeah, I mean, I started my channel in January of 2020, and that was when my daughter was born. She was born in mid-January. So I chose the perfect time to get started when I was so busy having a newborn. But I did that for, I would say, 6 months. And really, I mean, it came at a time during the pandemic, and that was kind of when coronavirus was obviously like in its initial stages. So we were working from home, and I really just got to I had to make the best of that situation, which was really tough on a lot of people, and not being able to work, going into the office, like losing the structure. That was a really, really tough thing for me because I'm ADHD. And so not having any kind of formal organization and just being left to my own like schedules and routine. Not a good thing for me. But I think I really found that when I had a lot more time at home, because we weren't really working, like at the very beginning of like the pandemic, we weren't working like full on 40-hour weeks just because everyone was trying to figure out how to deal with kids and, you know, daycare and all that kind of stuff. So we all got a little bit of a pass at the beginning.
I was seeing comments like it would be so much easier if there was an app and I could just stream into my TV.
The mobile app is the whole point of having this. It's supposed to be on the go. You're supposed to be able to download the videos to your phone.
The app pays for itself, essentially.
I thought these people that have been, you know, with me really deserve an upgraded experience.
Now with Uscreen, I'm wanting to use the app more because of how good it looks and how easy it flows. Notifications happening all the time because women are providing feedback, asking questions, engaging on the community. It's exciting every time I get to open up my app.
When we launched Buttons Plus or Uscreen, right away, it exceeded my expectations.
Drinks all around. Family, you don't get to pick the one you get. Just gotta love the one you got.
I always knew this day would come.
I got it.
I don't think you got it.
I held him off for years.
Charlie, get up here.
He's a relentless son of a bitch. Won't stop till he finishes the job. Death is coming for our family.
I said, oh, 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 oh.
Grandma, what's happening to us? Years ago, I had a premonition that started it all.
Put it in YouTube, and I was like, you know, editing, like my 15-minute videos would take me about 20 hours to edit, 16 to 20, somewhere in there. And that was on iMovie. I mean, iMovie is a relatively simple, like a program, but for me, it was just hard. Like I'm not an editor. And so I was just doing that like nonstop every week. I was trying to do like 2 videos a week, and that wasn't going to happen. And, you know, just really through doing that, like, I got really serious. I would spend so much time just even outside of content creation, literally just watching YouTube. Like I stopped, like the death of TV to me was when I started my YouTube channel, because I just found that I liked consuming YouTube content, which arguably is work too. You know, like as much as I enjoy watching YouTube content, really I was studying YouTube content for a very, very long time. And so it was pretty tough. I mean, I think my job, like the people at my job were very supportive, and I already had the side business of Airbnb at the time. And like I would always get asked questions at work, like, why are you still work? Like this doesn't make sense. Don't you make a lot of money on Airbnb and this and that? I'd be like, well, I make okay money, but I reinvest it. And then YouTube happened, and they were like, you know, why is Rob always late to meetings, or why did Rob miss this meeting, or why haven't we gotten this headline from him, or whatever. But I had a really good rapport. I had been there for 4 years, and so, you know, my bosses were great, and they were just like, it's all good. You know, everyone gets a pass in this time. And so I just spent as my YouTube career really started to take off, and my subscribers started growing, it was like almost like we didn't really talk about it at work, but people would check in and be like, yeah, I saw that. That's like crazy. And, you know, I tried not to talk about YouTube at work as much as I could, just because I mean, it was always like in meeting settings or like on group calls, and I just don't want to like talk about it. And like, I don't want people to know how serious I was about YouTube and how much time I was putting into it, because I didn't want them to know that was the reason that I was sucking at my job, you know? And so I would, like, anytime someone would ask them about YouTube, I'd be like, hey, whatever happened to that, you know, dog you got or whatever. So So it really all started to kind of really ramp up during the pandemic, and I'm very thankful for that. I again, it's a tough time, but for me, I just wanted to really try to find a silver lining, and my silver lining was I got to start a YouTube channel. My daughter came right around that time, and it was just my time to really be around family and be a YouTuber and still get paid at my job and not get fired, and it worked out. So I did that I quit like 5 months ago, back in March.
Amazing. So all of that started really because you had acquired a skill. And I think a lot of times people that are coming to YouTube, if they're just coming and they don't quite know yet what they want to do or what their channel should be about, I think there's a harder learning curve. But you were already in the Airbnb space. I mean, you had built this tiny home in your backyard. You were house hacking. I know this because I'm a fan of the Raw Build show or channel. And so I know that you were already in a skill, and you just started by answering questions and showing people what you were doing and helping people understand what Airbnb was. But you weren't doing this, between the 9 to 5. Some of your videos you were recording at like 1 a.m. after your daughter had gone to sleep. And so talk a little bit about the hustle that had to go into being able to quit your job within a 20-month period of time of starting YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that I think, like one 15-minute video, I guess, like, honestly, I've always heard this stat, and now vocalizing this, it makes a lot of sense, but like one 15-minute video is generally anywhere from 14 to 20 hours of editing time. That's with a professional editor. Like, I have a full-time editor that works for me now, and he's a good friend. He's a friend before an editor. Caleb, if you're watching this, you're the best. But like, a lot of time goes into that, not just the 15 hours that goes into editing it, but also like, the 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours that it takes me to record it. And yeah, like most of my videos, I thought when I became a full-time YouTuber, I was like, oh, I'm going to be full-time. I'm going to be recording content at like noon on Monday. On Tuesday, maybe I'll crank out half a video. On Wednesday, I'll do another half. I'm going to be so ahead of things. Maybe I'll do 2 videos a week. No, that is not how that works at all. Most of my videos get recorded around midnight. Like the last video that I recorded, I ended at 2 a.m. Not because I want that. It's like the worst time to do that kind of thing. But for me, like, it just, with all the different businesses that have kind of come to fruition because of YouTube and because of how my lifestyle has changed, like, it is the only time that I have to do it. And generally speaking, I would never do anything work-wise at that time, but I love YouTube so much. I love what it's done for me that, like, I'm willing to put in that work. And a lot of people see a 15-minute video, but they don't really understand that, like, it's like, it can be dozens of hours sometimes, for like, I released a 40-minute video a couple months ago. Man, just to review that is like an hour, just to like watch it through, right? Because I stop and I think about it and I might write a comment, but like, it takes a lot of time. So thankfully for me, I really love YouTube, and it's really created a lifestyle for me and my family that I'm very thankful for, because while I make money on YouTube, it really feeds into like all of the other things that I have going on in my life from a financial standpoint.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that because that is such the tip of the iceberg, right? YouTube is really the casting the net out and then bringing in the fish. And that's all the businesses of the opportunity that comes being consistent on the platform. Here at Think Media, we teach that you should be at a certain threshold before you decide to go all in on YouTube. And you were smart by building multiple streams of income. It's not like you were just reliant on the AdSense, but what was the threshold for you and your wife to really say, no, I'm ready to quit my full-time 6-figure job to make this a reality over on YouTube?
Yeah, totally. So I guess just to like provide some context, my salary as a senior copywriter at my agency was $110,000, and my wife's salary was $80,000. No, like 75. Total, we made $185,000. Math is not my strong suit, but 185 was like our total. And because of what YouTube created for me and the way it just like propelled my financial situation and just like the support that I got from people, I decided to do this crazy thing.
The family rules and I'll divorce you!
It sucks to be wrong about how much spice is too much spice for date night. But it's great to be wrong about Tinder, because a new relationship starts on Tinder every 3 seconds.
Moved to the middle of Tennessee in Gatlinburg. We bought 50 acres. We bought a house, and I was like, I'm going to build a tiny house village. And, you know, it was a really big bet that we took. And in order to do that, my wife was going to have to leave her job because she's a teacher. And, you know, that I always like appreciate that she was willing to do that for us, because, like, you know, she was like, follow your dreams, let's do it. And she supported me. And now we lived out here. So it was actually fully my intention when I moved out here to move out here in like December and then go back to LA and work like in June or July. That was always my intention. And that's what I told my company. I was like, hey, I'm moving to Tennessee. I'll be back in July. And they're like, great, sounds good. That sounds really cool. Good for you. And when I got here, I just really, I started to math out how having a $185,000 lifestyle was actually holding me back financially in some pretty significant ways. Because like, that's a good salary. Like, that's a good living. That was the first time my wife and I were like, we did it. Like, we're not broke anymore, you know? And we lived in California, so obviously it's not like as good as other places. But for us, we were just like, this is awesome. Let's go eat sushi, right? Yes. And that comfortable lifestyle was very difficult to leave because we had full-time health insurance. We had like benefits, 401k. And really, I just kind of had this moment in like, it was just, there were several moments, but there was this one week where I spoke to like 3 or 4 different people, a couple of different YouTubers, a couple of different friends who are entrepreneurs of companies. And they were just like, we were Zooming and they're like, hey, why do you still work, by the way? And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, I know how much you make on YouTube. I know how much you make on Airbnb. Like, I don't understand. Why do you still work a 9 to 5? And I was just like, I don't know, because I'm scared. But like, those conversations really had an impact on me because it was the first time that someone really kind of just frankly asked me that. And it happened to all be in the same week. And I also saw a couple of YouTube videos, funny enough, about just like the value of time. And I was consuming a lot of like millionaire content too, just because like I like productivity and like personal development. And so there was like these like different channels that were like, here's how I made $1 million. I cut out this, I cut out this, I cut out this. And I just got served up the perfect content on YouTube that week where I was like, that makes a lot of sense. And it happened to be like in that week or the week after, I had those Zoom conversations with different people. And so I just really sat down and I wrote all the different scenarios. What would happen if I quit my job? Worst case scenario, here's how much I'm going to make. Middle scenario, here's how much I'll make. Best case scenario, here's how much I'm going to make. And when I looked at the numbers for all of those, I was like, oh my God, every single one of these scenarios are significantly more than what I make now. And funny enough, I actually just mathed this out and I'm actually at 3 times the best scenario for this year. And it's because I was able to quit my job and really focus on putting a lot of time into all my different businesses. So what's the threshold? I mean, I talk about this actually in my upcoming video, which is probably out by the time anyone's watching this, but it's like when my honest thoughts about quitting your 9 to 5 job. And I personally think it should be, you should consider it once you're either you should be making a little bit more than you were at your current job because you're 1099 and you're going to have bigger tax implications there. So you have to kind of compensate that, or you should quit your job whenever the side hustle that you have literally cannot grow anymore without you putting more time into it. And that's where I was at. You know, I was like, I had Airbnb, I had consultations, I had a consultation service that I started as a result and of my YouTube channel. And because like I could literally not spend any more time on those, I was like landlocked in a sense. And so I was like, all right, the only way I can grow these businesses is by quitting my 9 to 5. So I did that. And that was very scary for me. You know, I cried. I cried like a baby to my bosses. I set up a Zoom. I was like, can y'all talk? And they're like, what's up? And I was like, you know, and they were like, what's wrong? And I was like, I think I have to quit. And they're like, oh, thank God. Like, you're okay. Yeah. Yeah, you probably do. You should have quit a long time ago. Like, that was like kind of the sentiment that was in there. Cause my boss was like, are you going to be like, okay, like financially? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be so fine. And they were like, all right, then what's the big deal? I was like, I don't know. I'm scared to lose the security. But it was a tough. It wasn't an easy decision for me, even though I was already making like a lot more money. Like I started a consultation service. I just got so many DMs and emails every day that I was like, well, maybe I should just like do a one-on-one with people. And I started out charging like $150 an hour. And I was booked, like it started off as like 1 or 2 every single week. And then I charged $200 and then $250 and then $300 and then $325 an hour. And it went from being 1 to 2 a week to 4 to 5 to 8 to 10 to being fully booked a month in advance. And then when I ended all that, I was charging like $500 an hour. And that to me, I was like, this is exactly what I've always dreamed of, right? Like this is a lot of money. I don't have to worry about money as much anymore. And I had my salary. But then I really quickly realized the hard way that I had no more time. And, sure, I was making like a decent amount of money from consultations and from YouTube and from like other like affiliates and all that stuff. But I had no time to spend with my wife and my kids. And like, that's like, to me, I was like, what? I'm making money, but at what cost, And so that to me was one of those big moments that I was like, okay, money's no good if I, A, live in the middle of Tennessee, really can't even spend it. There aren't like stores that I can go to. But B, I don't even get to enjoy the amenities and the luxuries that it could afford me with my family because I'm in this office all the time.
Yeah.
And so that was like one of the really big decisions for me. So if you're thinking about quitting your 9-to-5 job, do it, but it's like not necessarily rainbows and butterflies. Like the video that I'm going to release is like, it is a real video. Like, look, it's great, but you really have to consider that when you leave your 9-to-5 job, there are some implications and you have to be ready for it, even if you are financially ready for it. But I want that for you. I want that for people. And it's like, it's such an exciting thing. I've learned so much about myself as a result, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. And honestly, as I always say, I'm legitimately just honored that I get to make a living making goofy, funny videos on YouTube with programs that teach people how to start Airbnb businesses. And like, to me, it just doesn't get cooler than that.
It's so good, man. So the threshold for you really was a couple of things. I'm so glad we're having this honest conversation about this, because I think the headline of quit your job or, quit your 9-to-5 and make a 6-figure income on your side hustle. It's like, okay. And you said a couple of things. One,
IRS e-file is now open. Snap your W-2 and file your taxes 100% free. Plus, get your biggest refund. Roughly 37% of filers qualify. Simple Form 1040 returns. No schedules except for earned income tax credit, child tax credit, and student loan interest. File now.
Up and save at Michael's with our lowest prices of the season. Get up to 60% off thousands of items. Shop now at Michael's.
things. One, the leaving of the security of not just the salary, but the benefits and the structure and those types of things. That was a big thing. But then the time. And I think as people start to see, Signal Fire just released their latest report that content creation is the fastest growing small business type right now. What we're doing is the fastest growing small business type. And I think it has so much unsecure things about it because you're stepping into this new world of entrepreneurship. So if you have a 9-to-5, you're going from W-2 into 1099. Now, I don't want to go down this road because neither Rob or Heather are tax experts.
Hey,
we like
or
True
legal
Books.
expertise.
Yeah. Or legal expertise. True Books is who we use. We like them, and so we have someone on our team that is helping with that. I don't want to go into it too much, Rob, but it is those two things: the time and the security. So I want to shift focus real quick because now that you've quit your 9-to-5, you're making your own schedule as an entrepreneur. You're making more money than you've ever made, and your potential is only to increase from here because of the opportunities that YouTube has provided. Let's go to break down a couple of the different revenue streams, and really all of these stem from the influence and the personal brand that you're building off of your YouTube channel.
Totally. Yeah, I would love to. So, for me, just like and thankfully, actually, funny enough, in 2020, that's when I started my consultation business, and I made $25,000 just by kind of casually doing these consultations on the side. And I say thankfully because the merchant, so for those of you that don't know, when you become 1099, you can't necessarily use that as your income if you're trying to qualify for a house or any kind of like loan investment type of thing. And that's a very troubling thing for someone that's like a real estate like I make my money off of real estate investments. And so you really need that 1099 income for 2 years on your taxes before a bank says, okay, yeah, this makes, we believe you make money. Here's your house. Like, it's very, very tough. So thankfully I had started my consultation service in 2020, which is Stripe, the merchant, the credit merchant. And so that's on my taxes, like Stripe paid me. But really when it's all ramping up for me here in 2021, it's the same merchant that really pays me. And so I'll be able to average out like both years and use that as like income for myself. So I'm getting through the 1099 hurdle, and there are things that I'm going to have to do from a tax perspective, from a filing standpoint, that I'll have to change up. But here's kind of how things really shifted for me and changed and evolved and all that stuff. So as of today, I'll look it up here, but in my first year as a YouTuber, from June 6th to June 6th, like 2020, 2021, I made $40,000 on YouTube, which to me was like, I was like, let's go. I was like so excited. I mean, obviously one would want more, but for me, I was like, come on, this is like, I really can't complain about that at all. Like, it's amazing.
For year one, Rob, for year one, like imagine you're 5 and 10. Okay, that was number one. Okay, keep going. I get excited.
That was like, it was crazy because my first month, all right. So like, I always say this, like my first goal on YouTube, I wanted to have 1,000 subscribers, and I hit 1,000 subscribers on June 18th. And I hit the 4,000 watch hour that day or the next day. And so I was like, oh my God, like that's so cool. And I was like so excited. And then I got monetized and I was like, all right, I'm ready for like $8 a month. That's one Chipotle burrito. And on July 20th or something like that, like just under a month later, somewhere around there, YouTube made me a creator on the rise. And that they basically featured me on their homepage for a day. And that was like a life-changing day for me. But on that day, I made $1,400. And that was like crazy on AdSense. But for that first month that I was like monetized, I made like $6,700 on YouTube. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember like it was like $400 a day, a couple days in a row. And I remember like texting my friends. I'm like, I can quit my job. I can do it. I'm making $400 a day. Well, that's not how the YouTube algorithm works. You don't make that every single day. And in fact, most of the days you don't, right? So, there's some like learnings there with the YouTube AdSense. But fast forward to today, I mean, really that was like my pinnacle. And then I basically went down to $2,000 to $3,000 a month for a long time, and 3 to 4, and then 4 to 5. And then I was consistently making $5,000 a month for like the last 6 months or so. But this last month in August was my biggest month ever. I made, I think, $8,400 in August. I got like 12,000 subscribers. There were a few things that happened for me that really caused that catastrophic change from like 8,400 to like 5,000. I was on the Bigger Pockets podcast. I was on PBS, like I did a mini doc with them, and a few other little cool things that happened all in the same month. So I don't know what I'm going to make now, but it does look like my average is going to be about $7,000 a month. So about $84,000 a year is what I think I'm going to make on YouTube. We'll call it 75. It'll probably be somewhere around there. But that's just one part of it. That is the very beginning of where my income really comes from. I'm also a guy that teaches about Airbnb and how to start an Airbnb business, right? And so because of that, anytime that I'm ever like, hey, if you learn something from this video, if you want to be a host, sign up with my link down below, and I'll be their ambassador. And Airbnb actually pays me a commission just on that. It's it's a very, very good commission. But just in the last 6 months, roughly speaking, I think I've made about $80,000. I've made $79,948 on Airbnb affiliate commissions. Like in the last 90% of that has been in the last 6 months.
Amazing.
So now we're at like 150 just in those two buckets right there. But I also have brand deals too. And so like in my first I guess I really think things start to change. Like once you hit about 50,000, that's where like a lot of my brand deals started coming in. But in that first year of monetization, I made about $25,000 off of brand deals. So right there, I'm at $100,000 just on YouTube income between like what I probably will make with brand sponsors and all that. And that's really my first go at brand sponsors. I imagine this year I'll probably make like 50,000 on brand sponsors because I'm just growing at a much larger rate now. Thousand on brand sponsors because I'm just growing at a much larger rate now. So really, again, this is just surface level. I had my consultation business. I shut that down, even though, you know, it was up to $500 an hour. And, you know, a lot of people are like, dude, are you dumb? And I was like, well, it's impossible for me to scale up at that point. And so I decided to start a program where I taught people how to start a glamping business. And I also just launched a program where I teach people how to start an Airbnb business. And it's a 6-week all-intensive program. I have like 80 videos. They're all edited in the Rob Built style, so like kind of fun and quirky. And I also have weekly live coaching calls. I bring in guest speakers. I mean, it's like a full-on thing. And just from those 2 programs, like from the 2 launches that I've had, you know, I'll probably be at like $1.1 million just from that. And then that's like where I'm at now. By the end of the year, after like kind of launching more evergreen programs and stuff like that, I predict that, you know, before December, I should be at about like $1.4 million just from the educational content that I put out there. So between educational and like YouTube, I have like 1.5 or so. And honestly, I have this math out somewhere else, but around here. And then I also have my Airbnb business that gets a little bit of a bump from YouTube as well, because like a lot of people want to stay at my tiny houses and stuff like that. I make about $25,000 a month from that as well. So I guess that comes out to like $300K a year that I make off of Airbnb. So when you put it all together, 365 days from now, I should be at like a I don't know, this is kind of weird to say out loud, honestly, like 1.5 to 1.8. I'll be somewhere there, million from an income standpoint. And I could not have done that without quitting my full-time job. And that's the crazy thing. I do want to reiterate, that's not necessarily going to happen to everybody. I've just been incredibly lucky and, you know, I'm like...
Worked hard. You worked hard, Rob. You worked hard. Yeah.
I did. It's like luck and hard work. They really, you know, they have to be there together. I feel like, you know, it's like for me, I always say it's like 90% talent. No, 90% luck, 10% talent. And then it flip-flops to like 90% talent and 10% luck. I don't know if I really believe that anymore. That used to be like my go-to because now it is hard work. Like now it is 100-hour weeks. I'm not doing that anymore. Now I'm like probably to 60 hours, but I'm trying to get it down to like 30 hours a week if I can. And, you know, it was hard to get here. Like, it wasn't hard. It was hard work to get here. What I do is not complicated. It is not engineering. It's not rocket science, but it is hard work. And I do have to work my butt off to do this and to make content and to create programs. Like, when I created my Airbnb program, I mean, I was recording legitimately from like 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. for like a month straight. Like I would be bummed because like my business partner and my wife would watch movies. Like my kids were, you know, like, well, actually my kids were asleep, but sometimes they'd be up. But like if I have a lot of people come in and out of my house all the time, just because like, you know, the nature of how close we are with our friends, and they all get to watch TV and hang out, and I don't. And it bums me out sometimes because like it's 11 and I just want to go like play Mario Golf with like, you know, my wife or whatever, but I have to like record. And so it is hard work, but I'm so grateful to even be able to put in the hard work and get the output that I get.
So good. Yeah. So a couple things. And if you want to learn kind of how Rob was able to do that, we actually teach that inside of our Think Inner Circle. We have a 10-step program where we teach people how to do what you did. Rob, you said actually the biggest part was your course creation. And we actually teach YouTubers how to create courses inside of our Think Inner Circle. So if you want more info, you can go to thinkinnercircle.com. Just wanted to let people know that, Rob. But you are so talented and really, I'm grateful that you're just a YouTuber who took the leap, because holding back from that security, right, and holding on to that 40-hour-a-week job, once you stepped out of that, wow, you went from $100,000 to over $1 million. Incredible to see. And this is just the beginning. So just as inspiration for those watching the show right now, I just want you to know that, all of this takes hard work. None of this happens overnight. Rob was building, actually physically building tiny homes and building us in the background, as well as creating content weekly that is amazing content. So if that's something that inspires you and you want to do that, my best advice, and Rob probably is the same, is you got to just put in the hours. You got to put in the work and you'll see the fruit of your labor. But it's just like planting a seed. You've got to plant the seed and it's going to take time. It's going to be under the soil. No one's going to see it. And then it starts to pop up.
The fact that this Reese's ad showed up at this exact moment proves that your devices are listening to your stomach.
One's going to see it, and then it starts to pop up, and then it starts growing. And when Rob was able to quit his job and actually go full-time into YouTube and entrepreneurship is when he actually saw not just his income, but his whole lifestyle change. So Rob, so excited that you were on the show today. You can catch this 2-part series. If you did not watch the first part about his advice for new YouTubers, make sure you watch that. If you want more info about the Think Inner Circle, you can go to thinkinnercircle.com. And Rob, where can they follow you if they want to be a part of the Rob Built? Do you have a name for your tribe? We're still trying to figure this out too. We're at like 2 million. We don't have a name for our tribe, but do you have a name for your community, your fans?
Yeah, originally it was the Rob Builders, but now it's just the Rob Mob. The
Rob Mob. There you go. If you want to be a part of the Rob Mob, where can they find you?
Yeah, so they can obviously go to my YouTube channel, Rob Built, ROBUILT. I'm also on the gram, same thing, Rob Built there. And then, if you want to see me fumble and try to figure out like TikTok, you can also follow me there. It's Rob Builto, same spelling, except someone had to add an O because someone took Rob Built from me. So that's the fun part of being a YouTuber is now I have to try to snag my username anytime any new platform is out there. So.
Yeah, that's a secret hack no one knows about. Like once you've already made an influence in some category, anytime a new platform comes out, just sign up with your name. So
yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being a part of the show today, Rob. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Bye.
Are you ready to start or grow your YouTube channel? Do you feel stuck and need help connecting the dots? Join this free web class where you'll learn the step-by-step playbook for YouTube success. We've helped thousands of purpose-driven entrepreneurs just like you grow their influence with video. Register today for this exclusive training at thinkmasterclass.com.
There's one shortcut to this process, this entire process. We realized that you are always most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. Who were you? What problem have you solved? What question have you answered? What challenge have you overcome?
Welcome to the Think Marketing Podcast, the #1 podcast for helping you grow your influence on YouTube and then turning that influence into a high impact and high profit online business. My name is Heather Torres, and if you're new here, I want to welcome you to the podcast. We deliver a brand new episode every single Tuesday, so make sure you're subscribed wherever you're consuming this content from. And today's episode is brought to you by Grow with Video Live, our annual conference happening this fall in 2021. And I have some exciting news of a free ticket that you could win, an all access pass. And I'll tell you more about how to do that after this episode. Now, we're going to jump right into today's featured conversation with Sean Cannell and Rory Vaden. This conversation had me on the edge of my seat because I think if there's one thing you should be focusing on with your YouTube channel and your business, it is definitely your personal brand. Sean and Rory really break down exactly how to do this and the 4 steps to focus on if you're building a brand company. Now, you're on YouTube, you're creating content, which means you are a brand, whether it's your face or your company's face. And I want to make sure you get the most out of today's episode. So cut out distractions, lean in, and let's get into today's featured conversation.
If I could turn back time, if I could find a way, I'd choose a value city so full that's built to stay.
No need for furniture regret. Make a quality choice at Value City Furniture.
So how do you find and clarify your niche? How do you define your core message? How do you stand out amongst the competition and really build a powerful personal brand that breaks through the noise? If you want to do that this year, Rory Vaden is your guy. And I'm so excited to get into this conversation today. He helps people launch best-selling books and courses, land high-paying speaking engagements, impact millions of lives, build reoccurring revenue streams, generate leads while you're asleep, get access to a network of industry leaders, build an online following, get featured in mainstream media, and all of that really comes from building a powerful personal brand. So I can't wait for this conversation with my friend Rory Vaden. Rory, how's it going?
Buddy, thanks for having me. I'm so excited about this. You know how much I love and respect what you do, so it's good to be back with you.
The feeling's mutual, and I'm so fired up about this conversation. You know, if anybody's listening to the Think Marketing podcast, they're already probably thinking in terms of the power of a personal brand, of branding yourself, of marketing. Obviously, it's the Think Marketing podcast. But as we go into a new year, why personal branding? Why building a brand that cuts through the noise and really positioning your brand right? Why does it matter right now?
Well, I mean, I think the personal branding is basically the digitization of reputation, right? Like reputation is something we all understand and we go, yeah, we all have one and we all need one and it matters. When you hear personal brand, people are like, I don't know, I don't really like social media, I'm too busy, blah, blah. But it's like, no. Personal branding is just the digitization of reputation. So whether you like it or not, you have to have one. And if ultimately, if people don't know about you, they can't buy from you. And so you are either actively influencing that conversation and you have a strategy for it, or you're just letting it happen to you, which is not something I would recommend. Just like I would say, you should care about your reputation. You should care about your personal brand.
Man, that's powerful. And I was reading on your blog, and you talk about one of the biggest mistakes people make when building a personal brand, which is maybe one of the myths of why people think, well, I don't want to build like a personal brand. Like I'm not like an Instagram influencer. I don't need to have like a web page all about me. people don't want to see pictures of what I'm eating during the day. Why would I need a personal brand? But that is kind of the big mistake that you define on your blog. What is that mistake?
Yeah, so the biggest mistake that people make with their personal brand is they make it about themselves. Your personal brand is not about you. Your personal brand is about the problem you solve in the service to other people. And the best piece of personal branding advice I've ever received, I wish this was a Rory Vaden quote, but it is not. I can't take credit for it because there's a guy named Larry Winget who told me this when I was early in my career. He said, Rory, the goal is to find your uniqueness so that you can exploit it in the service of others. That's what we're trying to do. Find your uniqueness so that you can exploit it in the service of others. And that was powerful advice. But ironically, Larry wasn't actually in the business of teaching people how to do that. He was just a speaker saying that that's what you need to do. And so when we started Brand Builders Group, this is our second company. We sold our last business back in 2018. And so we had to be in a new space, start a new business. We thought, gosh, this is what we want to help people do. We developed a systematic process for how to find your uniqueness, how to walk any person through a series of questions is what it is. It's called the Brand DNA Helix, to help you hone in and figure out what is unique about you, where is your superpower. And that was the start of Brand Builders Group, and here we are.
Man, that's so powerful. And I want to hear about the Brand DNA Helix and go through how I can find, my core message, clarify my superpower, and those listening, we could kind of dial in our personal brand. But take us back for those that are meeting you for the first time. Sure. You've been on your own journey as a professional speaker, New York Times bestselling author. You've been in the corporate space, Fortune 500, all kinds of different things that you've done. What's been like your personal journey uncovering your own personal brand?
Yeah, well, I think the genesis of, well, here's the thing is when I was 17, I had this calling on my heart. Like for me, I felt it was a calling from God. And Brand Builders Group, we serve what we call mission-driven messengers. And so we speak to people who have that kind of calling because I felt like I was supposed to go out and talk to the world. And for me, I was very clear on self-discipline. And so I was like, self-discipline is the thing I'm supposed to go talk about. And so my first company was disciplinedynamic.com. It was terrible. You go to Discipline Dynamic and there was this lightning crash, Discipline Dynamic. It was sweet. Like I look back on those days, they were sweet days, but I was very clear, so I had that working for me, but nobody wants discipline. We know we need it, but we don't really want it. And people have to, marketing is like, you have to give people what they want. That's what attracts them. And so some years later, through the course of mentorship, I had somebody tell me, Rory, what is the problem that you solve? Self-discipline is the answer, but what's the question? And that was a really huge moment for me, was to figure out, and this is to me the genesis of all personal brands, is being able to answer this one question in one word. And most people cannot do it, which is, what problem do you solve? And that question is difficult, but it's important because it helps you figure out, what have I earned the right to talk about? What is the relevance of me in other people's lives? The intersection of that is at the problem I can solve for them. And so for me, back in those days, the problem that I solved was procrastination. And once we figured out that procrastination was the problem, I became, just like we encourage people to do today, is you have to become an ambassador of the problem, not just an ambassador of the solution, because people buy solutions to problems more than they buy like luxuries. And so, we studied procrastination. We did all these, independent studies that got me on national TV. And that led us to coming up with the metaphor of Take the Stairs, which was the title of my first New York Times bestselling book, which was how I really broke through the wall. It was a metaphor for doing things you should do that you don't feel like doing, which is the message of self-discipline. But what I was selling was the problem of procrastination, and people bought onto that. And a lot of people struggle with that, Sean, because they have too many messages to too many audiences, and they're not clear about what problem they solve. If you're not clear about what problem you solve, there's no way in hell your audience ever will be. There's no way your prospects ever will be. And so people just market a bunch of stuff about a bunch of stuff, and they are part of the noise. The reason you're caught up in the noise is because you're part of the noise. It's kind of like if you're, if you're at a party and a bunch of people are chatting and we're all talking, if you just come in and kind of like talk loudly, nobody will hear you. But if you like ping a glass of crystal, it has this piercing clarity that cuts right through the noise. And that's what you need. You need piercing clarity. And most people don't do that work. And so they ultimately become part of the noise. They stay stuck in the noise, and they never break through what we call Sheehan's wall, to where they break free of that and become the industry leader or the expert in their field, et cetera.
Man, that's so powerful. And you dropped a lot of nuggets in there. And I want to hear more about Sheehan's wall, because where you said too many messages to too many different audiences. And I think that we help a lot of people build their influence on YouTube. And we want to talk about so many different things, make videos on so many different things. We're multi-passionate. And even as entrepreneurs, we're maybe challenged to come up with what is our message that's going to cut through the noise. So what is Sheehan's wall?
Yeah, so Sheehan's wall we named it after a colleague of mine, Peter Sheehan, who originally kind of shared this construct with me, and then we've adapted it to fit personal brands. But it's super simple. It's basically in any industry or vertical or space, there's two groups of people. There's the unknown, and then there are the known. And most of us are unknown. We're trying to break through to become known. And so there's this huge, invisible, thick wall that is Sheehan's wall. And what most of us do when we start out is we hear all these different ideas about all these things we could do to grow our reach, to grow our brand, right? And we're multi-passionate. So it's like, I love leadership and communication and sales, or I love fitness and nutrition and mental health and, spa days and lifestyle stuff. And so we have a lot of messages to a lot of audiences. We hear all these different tactics like YouTube, podcasts, social media, blah, 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 email list, and all these different business models like membership site, video course, live events, coaching programs, consulting, keynotes. And the problem is when you have diluted focus, you get diluted results. When you have diluted focus, you bounce off the wall. You absorb into the noise. You become part of the noise. And the way to break through Sheehan's wall, ironically, is to talk about fewer things in fewer places, to become the world's leading expert on one thing. And that is how you break through the wall. Now, it doesn't mean you have to only do that one thing forever, but that's how you break through the wall. Once you break through the wall and you're on the other side, you can expand into all sorts of different messages and business models, right? Like Oprah, Tony Robbins, they can talk about all sorts of stuff. Gary Vaynerchuk's a perfect example of this. He talks about all sorts of stuff today. But in the beginning, he broke through the wall by talking about one thing, wine, on one medium, YouTube. And people forget that. Amazon broke through the wall as a company by selling one thing, books, right? Like we all forget it because now you buy cars and laptops and your toilet paper all off Amazon. But it's in the beginning, it was just books. So you have to become known for one thing, and that's how you break through the wall. And so, part of the work that we try to help people do is figure out what is their one thing that they could do to break through the wall.
That's brilliant. And man, as the world gets noisier and as there's more options than ever before, Instagram, TikTok, podcast, Clubhouse, it's all over the place. And there's so much noise in the world. Diluted focus leads to diluted results. And so breaking through on the one thing is so powerful. It reminds me when I was on my personal journey of discovering this, and I just thought about my Instagram bio. And I was working at a church at the time, and my Instagram bio, I was a pastor, but I was also a content creator, and I was already helping people find cameras and stuff, and tapping my toes into what I'm doing today. But I was so multi-passionate, and my Instagram account was not about who I served. It was about me. So I said, well, I'm a pastor, I'm a content creator, I'm a YouTuber, I'm a dog lover, I'm a music fan. And it was just this list about me. And when everything changed, Rory, was when I shifted and I changed my Instagram bio. And I just use that as an example, my email tagline, my social media profile across the board. And I galvanized the focus of my YouTube channel to I help people build their influence with YouTube. And everything changed. Like it really was, it still took time, and I had to build around that new clear message, but it brought so much clarity to my social media. It brought clarity to my strategy, and it absolutely led to where things were today. And even though I was actually doing that at the time, I was clouding my own message by making it about me, and I was bouncing off of Sheehan's wall.
Yeah. I mean, you're a great example of this, Sean. I mean, for those of you, like for you listening, I had one of my best keynote clients ever literally asked me the question, who do you know that is great at teaching people how to do video? And my brain immediately went to Sean. Right. And like we are getting to know each other, like we're pals, but it's not like we're best friends. Like we've hung out a little bit. But I was like, oh, you need Sean. And that's, the human brain is a mental filing cabinet. Right. And so you want to occupy one little box in their brain, like one little file in their brain where it's like, I need a surgeon. I need a orthopedic surgeon. Okay, who do I call? I need a child, a pediatrician. I need someone to clean my carpet. I need someone to, wash my car. There's like these little boxes. You need to own a box. It's like you need to pick a box and own it. And so like at Brand Builders, this was a decision we had to make. We only work with personal brands. We do not work with companies. We know we can make a lot of money working with companies, but our passion is for the mission-driven messenger. We brand people. We brand faces. We work with individuals. Now, they could work at a company. I mean, all of them work at some company. But, by turning away other things, it's weird because it feels like it would be limiting. It feels like it would cost you, but it's the opposite. You're serving a smaller audience in a deeper way, and that is depth and substance, and that's what creates the power and the force to break through the wall.
Man, this is so powerful, and I'm excited to get into this brand DNA helix because we're going to go through Rory's framework to help you clarify. If you're like, okay, I want to break through the wall, I want to clarify my message, I want to figure it out. But we also have put together, Rory's got a way, if you want to talk to someone on his team to actually get clarity on this stuff, if you just go to freebrandcall.com/think, you can, or check the show notes on the podcast or the YouTube video. I really encourage you, if you just actually want to connect with somebody that can help you galvanize and maybe bounce some of your ideas and your thoughts off them, that's freebrandcall.com/think. And I want to hear about the brand DNA helix though. And I actually do have this written down. I was at an event when you spoke for Shalene Johnson, and I was sitting next to Heather Torres and Melissa Caputo on our team. And we were like, this is gold. And so you kind of walked us through these questions and this framework. And so I'm excited for you to share it with the Think Marketing podcast. But yeah, what is the brand DNA helix?
Yeah, so this is our framework for discovering your uniqueness. It's sort of the next step to Larry's advice of find your uniqueness so you can exploit it in the service of others. So it's 6 questions. And basically, we do one-on-one coaching. So if we were working with you one-on-one right now, we would ask you basically these 6 questions, and you would brainstorm answers to the 6 questions. And then we would be looking, we teach our strategists to look for what we call thematic overlap. So basically, at the intersection of all of these answers is where your uniqueness lies. And we actually already covered the first question. The first question is, what problem do you solve? So you brainstorm a list of, here's all the problems I think I could solve for people. These are things I know something about that people struggle with that I can help them overcome. And you just come up with a list. The next thing you do is, the second question is, what are you passionate about? And so you make a list of all of the things that light you up, that fire you up. And we want you to look at things that you get excited about, but also one of the keys here is to look for what pisses you off. What makes you mad? Like, what makes you angry, as well as what makes you sad? Like, what breaks your heart? What makes you cry? Like, what is the thing where you look in the world and you go, I feel so bad that people struggle with this? And those two questions, what problems can I solve and what am I passionate about? They're kind of corroborative. You reconcile, that's how these 6 questions work, is you're kind of reconciling and you're looking for the intersection. So those are the first 2 questions.
That's brilliant. And, it's interesting, too, because when I thought about video, and I talk with Heather Heather Torres, the host of the Think Marketing podcast, she has a heart of empathy. She definitely comes from this female nurturing side, loves helping people get clear on certain things, and might walk into an event and think about how the greeters greeted her, or think about how, how people were responding in there. Conversely, that's kind of what she's noticing. And if the energy's off or something, it would piss her off. She'd be like, man, why don't they have people? Why is there no energy here or whatever? Conversely, if I walk into the same event, I'll be like, why is that LED screen flickering? Why are the lights turned off?
Yeah.
Why is the audio so bad here? And sometimes it's like, what do you notice? And that's not necessarily, we've all maybe been around people who are critical, but sometimes the thing you're being critical of is the thing you've been called to solve. Because you start realizing okay, those are the types of the flow of and being in church communications, and even being in communications. It went all the way back to getting started in video. Just so interesting that thing that makes you angry. And for some, it could be injustices, right? It could be these things, or it could just be, I don't like it when people don't communicate clearly, and they help people communicate clearly and structure their thoughts. Or I don't like it when, and it can be so many different things. What pisses you off? What makes you sad? It actually frustrates me and makes me sad if people waste time in the beginning of their YouTube video. I'm like, you're wasting time on the hook. What are you doing? Some people are like, I thought it was fine. It wasn't a big deal. So interesting. What problem do you solve? What are you passionate about? That's the first helix, right?
Yeah, so the 6 questions work like a chromosome, right, in a brand DNA helix. So those first 2 kind of go together.
What's 3 and 4?
So 3 and 4 are, number 3 is, what do you research? So that is, what do you study? What do you learn about? This could be your formal education, but it's really more, what would you spend a Saturday afternoon learning about if you had free time and you would do it anyways? That's going to point us towards your uniqueness. And our team can't just look at you and tell you your uniqueness. We have to guide people through the process, and we kind of hold up a mirror and reflect it back to them. But you have head knowledge. Your uniqueness, whatever it is, you have head knowledge of it, which leads to question number 4, which is, what do you have results in? And results is different. That is not education, but experience. What have you actually freaking done? What path have you walked? Where do you have results? And these 2 questions, the first 2 questions in the helix, problem and passion, kind of address what do you want to talk about? These next 2 questions, research and results, are sort of what have you earned the right to talk about? And if there's one shortcut to this process, this entire process, we realized that you are always most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. you're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. One of the reasons we started Brand Builders Group, right, is because like I remember what it felt like to sit in an audience and look at the speaker on the stage and go, that should be me. I remember walking through the airport and seeing the book on the shelf and being like, how do you get your book up there? Like my heart is so viscerally connected to that person. And then my wife, we built our former company together, and we stumbled through all of these mistakes and headaches to do it, and just realized we could have done this so much faster if we would have had someone just teaching us, but nobody had kind of pulled all those elements together. And so, that's who we serve, because that's who we were. So who were you? What problem have you solved? What question have you answered? What challenge have you overcome? You're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. So that's 3 and 4.
That's powerful. And the curse of knowledge, I know in our community happens all the time, to where we have like Nicole from Kids OT Help. She just crossed 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. She's scaled her business past 6 figures. She's done some brand collaborations, created her own courses. She's done a lot of things. And she is the mother of a couple kids now. And she is a kids occupational therapist. But it's really easy for people to count themselves out. Like, who am I to teach? What do I know? How do I, as she began to uncover that, she knows like secrets of just helping kids do tummy time and grow through those things. She knows secrets of breastfeeding, and she just knows all these things that she's learned the hard way. She's put the time in. The kids are still alive and they're thriving. And then she of course is also a kids occupational therapist. But so many listening, and I want to say this for the podcast, like that you sometimes can be blind even to the process that you've been going through the things you really have learned. It could be curse of knowledge. It could just be lack of confidence. It could be that generally we're afraid to put ourselves out there and be bold and crack kind of through that shell, because turns out, I mean, Heather Torres is another great example, has a homeschool channel that she kind of does on the side. And just goes, I just don't know what I would talk about. And I said, Heather, what are like the first 5 things I should know if I was going to be a new homeschool parent? She's like, and she just could roll them off. I was like, what are the 3 mistakes that homeschool parent? She's like, I'll tell you right now. She didn't have to prepare. She didn't need like notes. She could hit record. However, there was kind of that block there where sometimes we can be blind even to the fact that she had read 10 books on homeschooling, knew more. They say, right, Rory, that if you read like a book, you know more than 75% of the population. If you read 5 books, you know more than 99% of the population, just on a subject. Like just by going to Amazon and ordering Rory's books on procrastinate on purpose and take the stairs, you would know more about procrastination and self-discipline than 99% of the world. But yet it's so easy for us, right, to be blind to our own results. Have you noticed that kind of curse of knowledge, lack of confidence in those that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a conscious like imposter syndrome, like, I'm not good enough because I'm not a doctor, right? But remember, you only feel fear when you're thinking about yourself. Fear is so self-centered, right? People don't need experts. People need help. They don't need experts. They need help. They don't ultimately care what your credentials are. They care, can you help me? Can you guide me? Can you lead me? And when you think about your audience, you don't have that imposter syndrome. But I think another version is what you're kind of talking about, Sean, which is more of the like, I'm not an expert on anything. And you go, you totally are. Like everybody has you've been through something. What have you been through? You just don't realize the depth of it because to you, it's the curse of knowledge. And so I think that, ask yourself, who were you 5 years ago? Who were you maybe 10 years ago? And go, that's the person that you can reach. And by the way, when we get to marketing, which is a phase 2 conversation, so the Brand Builders curriculum is actually 4 phases. Phase 1 is brand positioning. That's what we're talking about right now. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that comes later. But when you get to writing copy, the best copy sounds like you're in the head of the person, and you can do that because you actually were that person. Like, what that person needs to hear. So, and it's also like, what's the thing you never get sick of learning about? You never get sick of talking about. Like those are, that's where it is. Like that's the uniqueness.
That is fire. Well, hey, we got 5 and 6.
We do. Okay, so so that is the uniqueness other than questions 5 and 6, which are really important because they address an actual really important part, which is, can you make any money with this? And this is where we're going to balance the passion with, can you make a real business out of this? So questions 5 and 6 are about money. Question 5 is, what are all the things people would buy from you? And we teach that there are basically only 5 ways to monetize a personal brand. We call them the paids. There's 5 ways to get paid from a personal brand. So it's an acronym. The P is products. You can take your pile of followers and you can sell them a physical product like a book or a clothing line or some equipment or whatever. The A in paids is ads and affiliates, which is interesting. So one of our big friends and clients, Lewis Howes, this is his business model. Lewis does sell some stuff to his clients, like to his audience, but the number one thing Lewis sells is access to his audience. It's the people who sponsor his podcast, The School of Greatness, which is a monster podcast, right? So ads, and if you're good at throwing a party, but you don't really love selling stuff, you might look at ads and affiliates. That could be a great model for you. If you're a great inventor, you might look at products, or you could do a day planner. One of our friends, Michael Hyatt, sells day planners. Shalene has a planner, physical product. The I is information. So this has obviously been a burst, is to sell information products, which would be video courses, membership sites, assessments, certifications. There's been an explosion of information products because they're super valuable and they're fairly low cost to create, and those are really great. The D in paids is deals. So a deal is third-party deals where you are paid from a third party for the creation of some piece of art, regardless of how well it performs. So it's a TV deal, a book deal, a brand deal. You're getting paid a flat fee. Or a guaranteed advance, and sometimes you get royalties in addition to it. Usually that's for more mature brands. And then the S is services, which is always the fastest path to cash, is to sell your time for money. If you need to make money quickly, I'm telling you, the fastest way to get there is to sell your time, to be a fitness trainer, to be a coach, to be a consultant. The problem is, long-term, it's the least scalable. So services are a great way to monetize your personal brand. In fact, we work with a lot of direct sales companies and stuff because, the best way to make money is to just take your personal brand and use it to sell the thing you're already doing. If you already have some business or you have a direct sales, side hustle or something, you could just use your personal brand to grow that thing. But if you're trying to if you have a corporate job and you really want to start something, you probably want to look at services first. That's how you're going to make enough money to pay your bills to break free. But then long term, you have to look at scale, which takes us to question number 6. So question number 5 is, what are all the things people would buy, which are the paids? And you're going to look at not all of them, right? We're looking at one to start. Pick one. It's not about all of them. And then question 6 is, what business do you really want to be in long term? So that's a different question, is going, okay, well, short term, I need to do something to make money, but long term, what kind of lifestyle do I want to have? And this is where we encourage people to look for what we call dares. So the dares are the characteristics of awesome business models. So dares is also an acronym. It stands for digital, automated, recurring, evergreen, and scalable. If there were a perfect business model, it might be completely digital. It has no physical inventory, warehousing, cost of goods. It would be completely automated and self-serve, where you never had to talk to your client. They could just service themselves. It would be recurring, so people would just pay every month for that thing. It would be evergreen, meaning you never had to update or change the product. And it would be infinitely scalable. You could have millions of followers, millions of customers without adding any additional overhead. Now that business model doesn't exist. The truth is it's all about what do you want to trade off. Netflix, though, is probably the closest to it. But even Netflix isn't evergreen because they have to upload new content all the time. But Netflix is probably the closest that we have found. But ask yourself, of the dares, what do I have natural strengths in and natural, my team is well suited at creating digital or physical, automated or high touch, high customization, recurring or just one-time pays, and you just kind of like, so we help people sort of think through the inventory. Again, there's not a perfect answer. There's only a perfect answer for you. It's not about finding the truth. It's about finding your truth. It's your uniqueness that we're looking for here with the Helix.
Man, so powerful. The 6 questions and just some fire on monetization there. And I love that by really using every single question to find the thematic overlap, to dial in your monetization, to dial in your brand positioning, to dial in what problem you're going to solve. And again, I do want to encourage you. Rory is a super world-class individual, and we align on so many things, not just world-class in business, but in family, life, values, faith, all those types of things. And have gotten to connect with him multiple times. So if you feel like you want more help, and we're only on one step of like 4 steps, right? You've got a whole team that can really help people get clarity for free. And of course, there's ways they can work with you and stuff like that. But even if they just want to get some clarity and really explore this process with somebody who can absolutely pull back kind of the confusion and really break through the noise. And even for people that are far along, because as I go through this, I'm like, man, we could dial this messaging in. We could dial our copy in. We could dial some things in. So freebrandcall.com/think. Of course, that's in the show notes. If you do want to get some clarity to dial in your personal brand. You mentioned now, though, this is just that first pillar, because what are the 4 stages of actually building a high impact, high profit personal brand that you take people through?
Yeah, so interesting. And so we do one-on-one coaching, as you mentioned, and the first call we do with people is like an introduction, first call free, get to know you a little bit and help you sort through some of this. So if you really want to zoom out big picture here for a sec, because you and I have never talked about this actually, so when you look at breaking through Sheehan's wall, Brand Builders Group we have one curriculum that is subdivided into 4 phases, and each phase actually has 3 courses. So our full curriculum is 12 different 2-day experiences. So we have a ton of stuff that we take people through, which is one of the reasons why we give away so much, because it's like we can't give it away like fast enough. Like there's a ton. But so phase 1 is what we call the branding phase. It's all about finding your uniqueness, and it's about your positioning. Where do you sit in the marketplace? And it's, I love how my friend Sally Hogshead describes this. It's like you want to neatly position yourself inside of a box that people understand, but then you want to clearly differentiate yourself from everyone else who's in that box with you. We do that in phase 1. In phase 2, we call that the marketing phase. This is traditionally what people think of when they think of personal branding. This is where we talk about funnels and email copy and websites and social media and podcasting and video, and also getting booked as a speaker. It's like, how do you market yourself? But one reason why a lot of people fail is because they skip phase 1 and they try to go straight to phase 2. They immediately I need to get my website launched. But it's like, you don't even know what to say. Like, you don't even know what words need to be on the website. Why are you so concerned about getting it launched? And it's just because that's what we see everybody doing. And
Rory, just to cut in there, I mean, that was a bomb right there on the podcast. Like, if you're not doing not just the right things, but in the right order, And it actually becomes the wrong thing if you start, you run out without fully having clarity, and clarity is power. Clarity is really that first step in uncovering that in that messaging phase. Okay, I love that. So then what's the next phase?
Yeah, so that's phase 2. And phase 3 is what we call selling. So phase 3 is where you've built a fire in phase 1 and phase 2. Now we're going to throw gasoline on the fire. And to what you just said, Sean, so this is where we introduce paid traffic. We teach people how to analyze paid traffic campaigns, and they learn their CAC and their LTV, lifetime value, and cost per click, and client acquisition costs, and all of that stuff to throw fuel on the fire. We teach. That's where you learn about doing affiliates. That's also where we teach. One of the courses is called Bestseller Launch Plan, and we talk about moving from self-publishing to traditional publishing, and how does the New York Times list work, and when should you use a New York publisher, and what's a Wall Street Journal bestseller, and how do you do that? And then we also talk about high dollar offer sales there in selling. And then in phase 4 is what we call scaling. Phase 4, our flagship course is called 8-Figure Entrepreneur, which you could actually think of these phases is this way. It's like, phase 1, you're just getting started. Phase 2 is become 6 figures. Phase 3 is grow to 7 figures. Phase 4 is 8 figures. And my wife and I have built 5 different 7-figure companies and 1 8-figure company that we sold back in 2018. And so we talk about, there's a big difference between being a personal brand and scaling a personal brand into a business. Our former company had 200 people, right? And this is where you go, how do you become Dave Ramsey with 1,000 employees, or a Gary Vaynerchuk, or the Oprah, like these huge brands that reach millions of people? It's not just them, right? And it's not a little team. It's a big team. It takes a big team to make a big impact. And so that's what phase 4 is all about. We also teach people in phase 4 how to recruit and build a sales team, because typically by that point, to get to an 8-figure business, you're usually having to supplement marketing with sales, a true dedicated sales strategy, which is actually what we spent our whole past life doing. We used to only do sales. Brand Builders is more of a marketing, company, but that's the big picture, man. And then you kind of like, a lot of the clients we work with who are more of the like celebrity type, they kind of are repeating the cycle. So they've already done it once, and now they're reinventing their next business or their next book or their next thing.
Man, that's brilliant. And of course, you're breaking down your business model and how you can help people in this side of what you do with Brand Builders Group. But there's so much value in there. And I think that's a kind of a good question of the day, is thinking about what stage are you in? Are you in that branding, getting clarity stage? Are you in that needing to master marketing and maybe scale to 6 or beyond, in that selling, mastering sales and paid traffic? To your point, absolutely, it's like gasoline on the fire. But just like the mistake, sometimes a lot of people in our community, and even in like our inner circle program and different things, are like, hey, how do you do Facebook ads? How do you do Instagram ads? How do you do Google Display Network? And the question is, are you even ready? Like, have you proven your message? Have you proven your offer? Have you proven your product?
If you're not yet optimizing every YouTube video organically, you're not ready for that. Like, why would you not do the free thing first? And everyone wants to skip over that.
I love those steps, and obviously we can get a lot of value out of those. Again, we could talk obviously endlessly about all these different stages and all these details. So we definitely have to have you back on the Think Marketing podcast. And if you want to connect more with Rory, of course, all of his details are in the show notes wherever you're watching or listening to this. And if you do want to jump on with a free call with one of his strategists, links are there as well for that. Can't recommend it enough. We've had people in the past, when we recommended that on a different video, that got so much value out of connecting with Rory and his team. And so freebrandcall.com/think. Rory, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast today.
Man, it's such a privilege. I respect so much what you're doing, and I learn from you. Like, I actually follow you. You're just the epitome of just giving value and clarity and focus and over delivering. And, the last thing I would just leave y'all with is, if you feel any fear or reluctance to go out and build your personal brand, it's because you're thinking about yourself. But if you feel that calling on your heart, we believe that is the result of a signal that's being sent out by somebody else. And there's somebody out there right now who needs you much more than you need them. So think about that person and go find them.
Soothing relief from sore noses and sneezes. Trust Puffs Plus Lotion this cold and flu season. America's #1 lotion tissue.
Zach doesn't care which tax filing software you've used in the past. Let's get them over with.
Rory and Sean's conversation for me was so enlightening. I think, we talk a lot about clarity here at Think Media, and Rory just really took it to another level for me specifically, and I hope for you as well. And when I think about some key points that I wrote down that I want to make sure that you get into your notebook, was you need to get clear on the exact problem that you solve. And you know that we teach this here at Think Media, but it's even just one level deep of what's your superpower? What is the thing that you are just so good at and that you could help people with? And I loved that Roy really carries the same spirit that we have here at Think, which is all about helping the people in your tribe. Who are you helping and how do you help them is the main question that we ask here when we're helping our clients get clear on their YouTube channels or how they want to grow their business on YouTube. And so I really hope that you take some time to evaluate that. A lot of times we listen to podcasts and we just move on to the next one, but I want to encourage you to take this podcast like a mini course and actually spend time answering these questions. So who do you help and how do you help them? And then the last thing is to remember that your personal brand isn't actually about you. Was that an enlightening point for you as well? I think for me, when I think about what should I be posting on social media or what type of content should I be creating, I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about the person I want to help. And I think that the big piece where he said about fear is when you're making it internal, man, that really just breaks down some barriers. So I hope that you pick up your camera this week. I hope that you press record and you start creating content for the people that need you the most. And we're going to continue this type of clarity conversations at our annual conference, Grow with Video Live. You have an opportunity right now to win an all-access pass to our conference that's going to be happening virtually, which means you can attend no matter where you live in the world this fall of 2021. There's a couple things you have to do to enter to win this exclusive all-access pass. So make sure you go to thinkmarketingshow.com. I'll have that linked in the show notes below here on the podcast, as well as on YouTube, wherever you're consuming this content on. And all you need to do is rate and review the podcast. Why rate and review it? Well, because that allows us to see who's part of our community here on the podcast. We get to hear your testimonies on there and learn what type of content you love for us to be creating. But it also helps to put this in the feeds of those other creators just like you. So if you rate and review this podcast, it helps us get the message of what we're trying to do here at Think out to other people. So if you want to enter to win one of those all access passes, all you need to do is rate and review over on iTunes, and make sure you go to thinkmarketingshow.com for all of the details to enter this amazing giveaway. One of my favorite things to do here on the podcast is to read these reviews. And today's review and shout out goes to Whatever Works 234. They said, dropping growth bombs. Such a great podcast. Very encouraging for me in this journey, as well as helping me strategically grow my channel and, more importantly, myself. Thank you so much for leaving that comment. That really is our heart here at Think Media. It's to help you have personal life change. And we want that to happen through growing your influence on YouTube. There's never been a better time right now for you to be creating content and helping people through the power of video and creating freedom-based filled businesses. I don't know if that makes sense, but basically it just means that I am so excited that Whatever Works 234 said that not only is it helping them grow their channel, but also themselves. This is the journey that I've been on, and I just want to help share the things that I've learned, and Sean wants to share the things that he's learned along this journey of growing YouTube. growing on YouTube. Well, that wraps up today's podcast. Make sure you tune in next Tuesday for another fire podcast. I can say that because I've already listened to it. So make sure that you are here next Tuesday, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Fancy horse. Fancy gum. Icebreaker smooth. Fancy.
Still searching for the one? Olay Super Cream with SPF. The power of 5 in one super cream. To hydrate smooth, brighten firm, and protect. Skin just drinks it in to boost cells for more resilient skin. It's Super Cream. Only Olay.
Is easier than ever to win on YouTube. When you take YouTube Shorts from your Instagram account, TikTok account, and those shorts don't represent the actual content that can be found on your channel, then that's what's really destroying your channel.
Today we have a rare privilege of learning from the YouTube strategist behind Dave Ramsey and his media empire. How did Ramsey Network go from 20 million monthly views to over 100 million?
So really it comes down to a short strategy, and really it's 3 pillars.
This might be the best podcast we've ever had.
Our YouTube Shorts are only created from our top performing videos. And I'll quickly dive into kind of how we do that.
If you want to get more views on your YouTube videos, today we have a rare privilege of learning from the YouTube strategist behind Dave Ramsey and his media empire. Right now, just on YouTube, they're generating over 100 million views plus per month, and sometimes it's much larger than that. And then when you multiply the media across platforms, the numbers get crazy. But in this video, we're going to be learning tips that you can apply even as a small or new creator, as well as perhaps a business owner or somebody that wants to scale and grow a media company. And so I'm sitting here with Connor Wagner. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, Sean. You nailed my last name really well. It's a tough one.
Well, I appreciate you. And we'll get a little bit into your backstory and your journey, but let's kick it off. How did Ramsey Network go from 20 million monthly views to over 100 million?
So it's kind of a long story, but and really excited to share the data behind it, because even I asked the leadership team, like, are we okay with like leaking this information out? Because I look around like, how's no one else doing this? So really it comes down to a short strategy, and really it's 3 pillars, and I've written down right here. The first thing we do, which is crazy, that it's as simple as this, is all of our shorts are strictly made out of our top performing videos. So we'll use the Ramsey show as an example. So right now we publish 2 highlight videos a day, and that's around 60 a month. The vast majority of those are average, above average, some are below average. Whenever we look at our YouTube short strategy, we're only creating YouTube shorts out of the top performing highlights. The second thing we look at is each of those YouTube shorts is then linked to the top performing video of that YouTube short, if that makes sense. And then lastly, we're also looking at the swipe away rates, and we're making sure those are at least 70% or above. And I know that's really kind of tactical and in the weeds, so to speak, but
no, it's great.
That's our secret strategy.
And for people that might be new to this, there's a feature on YouTube Shorts called related video.
Yep.
So when you post this YouTube short, it's linking back to the full conversation in the highlight. Yep. And anybody that posts a YouTube short, you could link to any video really, but that's what you do there. And then you did say though that if the swipe away rate is underperforming, do you delete it? Or do you just try to learn from it?
That's a great question. And I love food analogies, so I'm going to hit you with a food analogy. So YouTube has made it very clear that when it comes to YouTube Shorts, it's essentially bridge content that actually is supposed to lead to your long form content. And so just like you get free samples at the grocery store or at Costco or your favorite location, you want the samples that you're giving out for free to really represent your best products. And those samples also need to represent the actual full product that people can expect from your YouTube channel. And so back to your question of swipe away rates, we're wanting to make sure that sample, which is the best part of our highlights to have the best possible flavor or enticing to hook viewers. Be like, hey, I want more of that. I want to buy the full product, aka either click the link at the bottom, subscribe, or watch the full version of the video. And so if you have that understanding that YouTube Shorts are basically samples of your content, the first step is to make sure you're putting out the best samples of your content out there. And so we track and make sure that over 70% of everyone who interacts with our content across the board is at least 70% of the time choosing to stop and watch our content. And truthfully, we're going to move that up to 80 over the next few months. And so we're never stopping innovating in that sense. But when you kind of simplify it from a human behavior, all we're doing is putting out samples. And if you're going to do that, why not use the best parts of your content to do that?
What is the conversation that you're having with the team to get it from 70 to 80? What levers would you be pulling?
So one YouTube Shorts hack, and quite simple when you think about how you yourself or your audience interacts with YouTube Shorts, you're sitting there swiping. And on average, you're there for 1 second to 3 seconds. So one of the mindsets that I really have our editors take is treat the first 1 to 3 seconds of each YouTube Short you're creating as its own separate video. Because that 1 to 3 seconds is the section where people are going to choose whether or not they're going to watch the whole short. And then that's where it kind of dominoes into, okay, after they choose, then hey, it's actually the best part of a highlight or another video you already published. And so the conversion rate from YouTube Shorts to people subscribing and consuming our actual content is super high because of that strategy.
Now, I was watching some of Dr. John Deloney's shorts, and man, some of the craziest conversations that he'll have. But what I noticed was it's really just the clip. It seems edited up. It's intentional. These are crushing in terms of getting views. The related video of the full conversation that it's from is linked to that. But there's no call to action. Have you found that people just are going to find their way and that you save time, but not at the end having him or an arrow or something saying, you know, hey, go watch the full thing, because now that's watch time. Like, what is your thoughts there in terms of shorts and calls to action? It's really just the great clip.
So John has some amazing books. He's, you know, best time seller. As far as like products and CTAs, the number one CTA that we focus on network is like, subscribe, and share, or watch more. So one of those four, really with leaning on watch more being the number one CTA. We do have product mentions and things integrated within the long form episodes and descriptions. So we are pushing people to products, but really our goal is to nurture people and to help them grow and get to know John and the content and fix their relationships. In a way, it's almost like our video content is a product, and we just do a really good job of monetizing with sponsors, ad revenue. And then really, if they buy a book or use a service from us at Ramsey, that's really just bonus points. Because at the end of the day, we're just really trying to get the content from as many people as possible to help them with their relationship issues, their marriages, and so on. So hopefully that answered your question.
Well, that's very insightful, but I guess my question is not a call to action to a book or something, a call to action to the full-length video.
Gotcha.
It just starts and stops, as opposed to taking more time, which would be an audience retention drop off. So what would you, if you were coaching somebody else that's starting a YouTube channel, like if I had a short that was 40 seconds and I deliver the content and then I go, hey, want to watch the full video? Just click right here on the related videos.
So
that versus just the great clip that just ends when it's over or whatever?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's one of the things we're trying to figure out. Whenever we've tried to do custom, like, hey, if you like this video, click below on our long form highlights or shorts, retention just plummets.
Right.
And then we've also tried to add a little section that says click here for the full video. But the YouTube Shorts player across Android, Apple, different devices, and even on laptops, like that positioning moves. And so we're not able to really add graphics to say, hey, click here for the full version. That being said, we're still trying to figure out how to do just that, because I feel like a lot of people on YouTube still don't know that that's an option. And to that point where we don't necessarily rely too heavily on that link at the bottom of the YouTube Shorts, because what we found is people who consume our shorts and watch a few, the next time they show up on a homepage or they're watching another video, our actual normal content is suggested to them. And so I'd say clicking the link at the bottom is probably less than 10% of our overall traffic. It's people subscribing or getting our content suggested later when they come back to YouTube without even clicking on the link at the bottom.
That's a huge light bulb moment for our community. that we sometimes can get so fixated on, hey, click like, click subscribe, where really the modern YouTube form of subscription is consumption. Because if people watch your shorts and consume them or binge a few or watch some of your video, then you're going to start being recommended on their homepage. You're going to start getting more suggested to them. And furthermore, if you click subscribe on a channel that you're not consuming, it could get buried. It's not being recommended to you. So a subscriber could be overrated, but consumption is underrated, because then that just multiplies. You just keep getting recommended there. I'm a big Entree Leadership fan, and the YouTube algorithm knows I'm sure it's parsed that Entree Leadership's could be a different audience than some of the personal finance stuff or the relationship stuff. But I am consistent. I'm like getting ready in the morning or something, and the kind of thing I'll turn on is like, should I hire, or how do I fire somebody, or how do I have a difficult conversation? I want to hear Dave break that down. These videos are just showing up. I'm not going to my subscription feed. I'm not seeking them out. It's coming to me because the YouTube algorithm understands the kind of stuff that I like. So consumption is really what we want to be solving for.
Absolutely. And that I think the subscriber totals on YouTube channels, like when I look at collab opportunities or suggestions for like, hey, who should we have on our shows? I very rarely, I glance at the subscriber feed, but then I go to another site like Social Blade, or, use a plugin like vidIQ or TubeBuddy to actually go to that channel and say, hey, because it's like, followers on social media, if they're not doing anything or engaging with you, then they don't really matter. So I would say, like, when you're setting goals for YouTube channels, even if you're starting out, like, it may be like impressive in your mind, like, oh, I have 100,000 subscribers, but if only 1,000 of those people are actually consuming content, which is to your point, that's not really a healthy channel. So that being said, as a Ramsey Network, we actually really don't set goals for subscriber gains or things like that. We're really monitoring how many people are coming to us monthly. What's the audience return rates? Are they coming back every month? What's the click-through rate on titles and thumbnails? We really want to grow the reality of consumption and people, not necessarily vanity metrics, which I think subscriber totals are to that point these days, where it's not a true representation of what's going on a certain channel.
Agree. Now, you have over 400 YouTube shorts going out per month.
So 5 days of moisture and no wash days in between? Can you believe this is day 5?
Per month. How do you maintain quality?
Well, it's a lot of content meetings and performance meetings. So the beauty, like I mentioned earlier about our YouTube shorts, is our YouTube shorts are only created from our top performing videos. And I'll quickly dive into kind of how we do that. So across the board, we do have long form content, which is the full episodes of The Ramsey Show, full episodes of Dr. John Deloney. And you actually mentioned this hack at the conference in Las Vegas, which was fantastic. I was like, yeah, great. I'm glad someone else is doing this. Is before, like, if you are a creator who's starting on podcasting and you have long form content and you want to get into making YouTube shorts or highlights for your channel, your retention data literally is human behavior, and your audience is telling you which parts of your content are good or not. And so when you're starting out, or hey, if you've been doing it for a while and you're like, man, which parts of like this episode are actually good, maybe delay the release a little bit of your highlights and release your full episodes, and then look at that retention data and pull and make highlights out of those sections. And so that's exactly what we do at Ramsey Solutions across the board. Is we release our full episodes, we look at historical data, and we also look at live retention data, and then we make highlight selection based off of that. Then when it comes to YouTube Shorts, we then are using highlights that have already been proven to work from full episodes. Then we look at retention data on the highlight level, the shorter form content, and say, okay, where in these top performing highlights are we going to pull the best YouTube shorts? And we do the exact same thing where we're like, hey, here's the 3 areas where people repeated the most in this top performing video. Let's create YouTube shorts only out of that content. And so every single YouTube short you see us release, like 300, 400, we're adding more and more every month. So I'm even losing track of how many we're doing. Every single one of those is from a top performing video, from a top performing section in that specific video, from a top performing area within the long form content. So the goal for us, and really should be for any creator, is to remove any sense of guesswork. It's 80% of what we put out monthly. I can pretty much guarantee what it will do, above average, below average, because we've done it so much. And one of the misconceptions that people have is like, oh, channels who upload a lot, that's why they're winning, because they're uploading a lot. And I've seen channels do that and they just dive bomb. In reality, what high output helps you do is fail quickly. And as long as you're failing quickly and learning and changing and updating like what you're doing, that's really the secret sauce. And so while we upload a ton of content, a lot of the principles of how we're doing it can absolutely be applied to channels who upload weekly or twice a week or 3 times a week. And so if you're hearing that number and you're like, man, I don't upload anywhere near that many shorts or highlights or full episodes, just know the principles are still there. And of course, you talk about them all the time. So
yeah, I mean, 99% of creators are not doing that, and they need to start immediately.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the tools to look into for listeners is your analytics. You can see intro retention, how much are you holding in the first second. You can see spikes and dips, and what you're talking about is going to the spikes of long form videos, which takes 3 days to get the info.
Yep.
And then if you get those are your clips, then it's going to you upload those. That's going to take 3 days.
Yep.
So you just broke down also, man, that's such a powerful strategy to be patient, let the data come back, and even small creators are going to get that audience retention curve.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you can then go back, you find maybe a clip that you could repurpose and then a short that you could repurpose based on those spikes. Such a high level strategy. Now you're also posting a ton of YouTube videos with over 200 YouTube videos going out. How do you maintain quality? But first break it down. What are these 200 YouTube videos? What channels? What personalities? 200.
Yeah.
Like what's happening?
So the Ramsey Show, as an example, we do 2 highlights a day there. With Deloney, we're approaching 2 highlights there. It comes down to how frequently a certain channel or show releases full episodes. So the Ramsey Show, as an example, we have a weekly show Monday through Friday. So our ability to test things and fail quickly is a lot easier on that channel. Same with Deloney, the Dr. John Deloney Show. We
release live. So Dave Ramsey Show is live 5 days a week. How often is Dr. John?
He's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, full episodes.
So there's 3 full episodes. Are you saying over 200 YouTube videos are going out, just clips, or counting the live streams?
Counting the live streams, the highlights, and full
George
episodes.
Camel does proper YouTube videos.
Correct.
And Rachel Cruz does YouTube videos. Yeah. 3 YouTube videos a week?
A week, correct. Yeah.
Like tips, sitting at a couch, like different, so all different styles throughout the different personalities. Okay. So add up all the clips. This is just long form. So live streams, clips, and then proper edited YouTube videos that are less than a talk show or something. That's 200 uploads. Okay. A month. How do you maintain quality on those?
So I've been here for 11 years, and the beauty is on YouTube, you have data for every single video you've ever published. And so I always like to say every single upload that you create is either steering your channel up or down. And that really keeps everybody on the edge of their seat, because you can't really relax, so to speak. Because, if you do a negative upload, I've heard YouTube say this is not the case, but I've seen it time and time again. If you do some weak uploads, the next one that may be strong is actually going to be impacted because, you do not maintain that consistency.
Graham Stephan just said that. Yeah, YouTube denies that. They say, hey, every video is judged on its own merits. Graham Stephan said YouTube is a momentum-based platform.
Correct.
So that's your last few uploads. I think he was also talking about shorts. And then I wonder if a lot of things maybe are a hybrid of the two. It could be, it's real people, that's audiences. So is it actually that YouTube is penalizing you, or just the last people that were clicking? If the last time they were kind of dissatisfied, or if they felt dissonance in your brand, maybe dishonesty or just clickbait. Well, man, you got the click, but you lost trust, so they don't want to click on your next video. Anyway, but in your opinion, would you say you have data that reveals that?
Oh, absolutely. And my team's job is we live in that data 24/7. It's our full-time job. And well, a lot of times, I mentioned that delaying your highlights and your shorts. We're to a point because we have so much data. If we have a topic idea, we can literally pull it up and say, hey, have we done anything similar in the past? Hey, this is very similar to 2 other videos that performed well. Let's remix that. And I won't rabbit trail with this question too, but the AI tools, with even something like ChatGPT, you can plug in all your Google Sheet data for a channel, up to 500 videos, and you can literally say, hey, how did the video do around budgeting? Have I done any top budgeting videos recently? And literally have a conversation with AI to tell you, hey, yeah, I looked at the sheet. Here's some ideas. And then you can really have really good, insightful future content decision making based off of past performance data, to where you're not relying so heavily in the moment.
Are you manually doing these Google Sheets?
Oh, so I mostly download them straight from YouTube.
Okay.
Plug them in and then let AI do the rest.
Advanced YouTube Analytics.
Correct. It's very advanced and it's free.
But you go to advanced mode in YouTube Analytics.
Exactly, advanced mode.
To download your Google Sheets.
Mm-hmm.
And you upload your Google Sheets into ChatGPT.
Correct.
And ask it intelligent prompts.
Yes. So last month, give me the last 10 videos that had a click-through rate above 10%. Or give me the last 10 videos I did last month. And you can that, because we're doing like hundreds of videos. Hey, that sounds familiar. Hey, did we do a video last month on this? And ChatGPT can tell you.
Jeez.
Let me show you a prompt real quick and I can record it.
I mean, I don't know if it will show up on the camera. We can circle back. We can circle back to that at the end. But that is we're talking about advanced tips in this conversation. Mm-hmm. That is some next level stuff. So, okay, so you're talking about getting insights from the Google Sheets. What's warning? One of the notes you made was do what the top 1% are doing. What are the top 1% doing?
Yes. So early on. For the last 10 years, if you want to be the best, you need to know what the best are doing. For example, I like Dave Ramsey always gives an example. Like if you want to, lose weight and get fit, you need to hire somebody who resembles where you want to go, because you don't want to hire a trainer that's like, hey, I look better than you. Yeah. Like, why are you training me? And so kind of same that simplistic mentality of, man, what are the top 1% of YouTube channels doing? And so there's some large studies done by TubeBuddy, Little Monster Media back in 2020, and several other large companies. And the data has stayed to be true because I get to access a lot of channels and things like that. And really, the top 1% of YouTube channels really have 3 main data points.
Do you want to get your first or next 1,000 subscribers on YouTube faster? For the first time ever, we are hosting a free one-day event at videogrowthday.com. During this one-day online event, you will learn our step-by-step YouTube success system for getting views, subscribers, and making money. You'll get to connect with the Think Media team and be a part of community, conversation, and a bunch of cool giveaways. And you'll leave with your personalized YouTube game plan for success. So to register, just go to videogrowthday.com or click the link in the show notes. Now, let's jump back into the episode.
The first thing they do is they have higher frequency of output. So really around 3 videos a week, which I know a lot of YouTube creators are like, man, 3 videos a week, that's so much. But again, it's good to know, okay, like top 1% of YouTube channels are really succeeding with 3 videos a week. And really the minimum is weekly. We can dive into, audience behavior, weekly rhythms and things like that. The other thing was the optimal length for those YouTube videos ranged from 7 to 16 minutes long. And some people are like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to start making videos exactly that length. And again, these data points aren't meant to be like, no, go do this. It's more of like, okay, that's good to know. Really, the main data point behind that length is that these videos were getting a 5 to 8 minute average view duration on average, which all that means is on average, viewers were consuming 50 to 70% of every single video that top 1% of YouTube creators uploaded. So in my mind, I was like, okay, if I want to grow and be, in the top 1% of YouTube channels, then I need to create content that where on average, everyone's consuming at least 50 to 70% of it. It doesn't matter if it's 30 minutes, 20 minutes, if it's within this range, that's good to know. But man, audience satisfaction is when people can consume the vast majority of the content. And this was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And so it's data points like that as you're starting as a creator, or if you're wanting to speed up the growth of your YouTube channel, like keep things in mind of like, man, what is that experience like consuming Mr. Beast videos? Like, hey, all of those videos I can guarantee you get over a 50 to 70% completion rate. But just having that mentality of I need to make my content as easy to digest, as appealing as what these top 1% of YouTube creators are doing.
I love that. And I mean, I think also the level of this conversation is almost like crippling to a new creator.
Oh, absolutely.
But at the same time, if you dwell in this environment of like this podcast, this level of thinking, it's just going to level you up. It's going to stretch you. And it's all about getting 1% better with every upload. But if you're learning from the top 1%, it's going to shorten your learning curve. I heard one person say it this way. It was like, if you want to become a millionaire, learn from billionaires, you'll get there faster.
Yeah, that's a great
and it's kind of like, even though it can feel unrelatable, what are the transferable principles that you could apply? There's this massive debate on YouTube about YouTube Shorts destroying channels.
I'm ready.
And you wrote down 5 mistakes.
Yes.
First of all, why do you think people are saying that or have that theory? And then maybe they might be making one of these 5 mistakes that's distorting their perception of what ruining a YouTube channel means. But yeah, what's your take on this?
So what I've seen, and this is by far the number one problem, and let me know if you see something else, is that YouTube Shorts, when it comes to YouTube Shorts, a lot of creators, they already have a strategy on Instagram, a strategy on TikTok, and the content they're creating for their social media platforms may not be the content that their YouTube channel actually offers. And so what they'll do, and this is easy, you know, I was about to use the word lazy, but like the easiest thing is, I'm already doing short form content on these social media platforms. I'm just going to copy and paste and slap that over here on my YouTube channel just to take advantage of YouTube Shorts. YouTube has come out of the gates early, even before we even started, saying, hey, YouTube Shorts are bridge content to your videos. And even today, YouTube's like, hey, we're working on ways to help transition people from YouTube Shorts to your long form content or your normal form content. And so when you take YouTube Shorts from your Instagram account, TikTok account, and those shorts don't represent the actual content that can be found on your channel, then that's what's really destroying your channel. It's because people are finding your content. They're like, hey, that was a really great, funny video that this creator made. They click subscribe, and then they access your actual videos like, hey, this is nothing like YouTube, the YouTube short I watched. So think about like the sample analogy I did earlier with Costco or whatever brand. Imagine getting a sample. You're like, man, that's so good. I want to buy the full box. And then you get that box, and it's like, it's not the chocolate cereal you just sampled. So in a way, that's really what's happening with a lot of creators is they're taking content, they're putting it up as YouTube Shorts that don't represent the actual content that their channel offers. And while it may be easy, that's really the thing that's destroying their channel, so to speak.
So mistake number 1 is they're uploading social videos. And so for some people, they're like dancing on Instagram, pointing to words.
Yeah.
Or it's kind of just more broad appeal or something. Like I got the vertical video when I uploaded it as a short.
Correct.
But mistake number 1 is they're uploading social videos as YouTube Shorts that do not reflect the actual content their channel offers.
Yep.
Mistake number 2 is they're not monitoring the health and improving the effectiveness of the YouTube Shorts. So what do you mean by that?
So back to the hacks I mentioned earlier, such as do your YouTube Shorts or your free samples, so to speak, do they represent the best parts of your YouTube channel? And one thing I haven't heard people say, and this is really a game changer if people can really grasp their mind around, is for the longest time, and you can probably agree with this, titles and thumbnails have been the largest barrier to overcome for all creators. Because a lot of times I remember early on, we'd make some videos, but man, if people were just to click this video and actually see what this video has to offer, like they would be so impressed. But like I'm trying to figure out how to get people to click the title and thumbnail to begin with. And really with YouTube Shorts, it has completely removed that roadblock to where it's like, no, people are swiping and you can literally take them to the best part of your content. And so you can't really blame your titles and thumbnails anymore for like your lack of growth. And really, I would say the reason why we're seeing so much success is because not that our titles and thumbnails have ever been bad, but you just got to see some of the things that we're doing to truly believe it. And so if you're a creator and you've always struggled with good titles and thumbnails, then I'm so excited for you to try out YouTube Shorts because it fully removes that barrier and lets you put your best foot forward every single time if you want to when it comes to publishing content.
So then mistake number 3 is not linking your YouTube Shorts to the full version of the video. And you talked about this later. That's using that related video feature.
Correct. Yeah. And again, because YouTube's going to probably build out more features. My thing is always use the features that YouTube is building out because they're doing it for a reason. And anytime there's an opportunity for us to take YouTube Shorts audience and move them over to our normal content, then we're going to do that. I'll add a little note. You'll notice a lot of times with TikTok influencers or people who are influencers with short form content, whenever they have rallies or they want people to buy their book or come see the event, those creators have always struggled because true connection and life change happens when you spend time with people. And so in our minds at Ramsey Solutions, the life change and the hope and the education we have to offer is not going to happen in these 60-second vertical videos. It's crucial for us to roll those viewers over to our actual content where we can truly connect with them, where they can truly learn about our personalities and what we have to offer. And so I would say, as you're building out your strategy, make sure in the back of your mind, you're like, hey, I want these YouTube Shorts to bring people to my actual content, because that's really where the life change and impact happens.
That's a huge point, and I think
Try Olay for firmer, lifted skin without pricey procedures. Only Olay.
Why is Rinse so good? So annoying.
Buttery, salty show-offs.
I love them. Is that a smile?
This is a salty club.
Salty. You're gonna get us kicked out.
So?
That's better.
Loved by everyone, even the saltiest.
a huge point, and I think probably the big idea there too is that if you're just pulling vertical videos from wherever and just adding whatever video to related features, you are doing it wrong and you're falling short because you would want YouTube Shorts. So because you think, does even this YouTube Short naturally connect to this related video? Is that same experience? I've heard even some people say you kind of want it to be the same feel, the same look, the same brand. Because again, you normally shoot in front of your computer with a crispy camera and a USB microphone, but your shorts are from your phone. Correct. Now, it might work, but it's like it has such a different feel. They just went into two different worlds. I love this because what you're saying is like reverse engineer the whole thing, and where actually the depth is, where actually the community is. You reference some of the stories of sometimes at VidCon, TikTok, huge multi-million followed TikTokers have nobody show up for their meetups. There's no depth there. And, it used to be that like content is king, but really these days it feels like community is king. So true. Because if you actually have connection. So make sure you're thinking about architecting your shorts, linking those over. And then mistake number 4 is not publishing YouTube shorts frequently enough. What do you think the frequency should be?
So this, again, Ramsey Solutions, we do a lot here. What I've seen time and time again, and across all 7 YouTube channels when we rolled shorts out, is a daily frequency at least. And really the momentum starts to build after 30 days and really continues to compound past 90 days. So if you're publishing 1 or 2, it's kind of a lot like with video frequencies. Whatever you do it consistently. But if you can get to a level of doing 1 short a day, and that's going to compound a lot. And if you think about it, 7 YouTube shorts may sound like a lot. That's 7 minutes of content. And if you're doing it right and following kind of similar mindset that we do at Ramsey, it should be 7 minutes from content that's already edited, that's already available on your YouTube channel, that you just kind of splice up the best moments from, and you feature that. And what we've seen is our highlights, our videos range anywhere from 7 to 9 minutes, and we can normally pull 3 to 4 YouTube shorts out of that one video. Again, because a lot of our shorts are sometimes 30 seconds, 40 seconds. So that being said, don't let that daily 7 a week scare you. If you're publishing, 1 to 2 videos a week, you can easily get daily short strategy up and running.
Well, here's maybe a hard question on that, though, that might parse some things out. Because I think for some people, if you're a video podcaster, if you're a live show host, you're creating enough consistent content. And if you apply what you're talking about and wait for those spikes, then those spikes become the clips, and then the clips can become shorts. But if you're George Camel, is he doing 7 shorts a week?
He's doing 14 a week. He's doing 2 YouTube shorts a week. And
he's doing 14 YouTube shorts a week?
Mm-hmm.
But are they coming from his long form videos or other stuff?
They're coming only from the content on his YouTube channel. And here's the beautiful part.
And he's not. So I'm thinking about just the listener, because
Mm-hmm.
they might say, well, I'm not a video podcaster. Like, I make a normal YouTube video, talking head, TED tips for cooking.
Correct.
Some real estate tips. George is doing the same. He does not have a podcast.
Correct.
He does not have a live show.
Correct.
But he is making like thoughtful videos. And so you're saying apply to those as well. Is there different cut-ins or cut-outs, or are they just able to be pulled out of that episode?
They're being pulled out of those 3 videos a week. And what's helpful too is when you're thinking about YouTube short strategy, if you've been doing YouTube for a few years and you have a lot of evergreen content, you can actually start creating YouTube shorts for your evergreen content, because that's
meaning go back in your library.
Exactly. So that's what we are doing with George. It's actually a hybrid model of we're looking back at videos they posted last year that were top performing, and we're creating YouTube shorts out of those, and also watching his new videos as they release and cutting YouTube shorts out of those. And so if you are wanting to launch a YouTube short strategy and you've been on YouTube for a few years, oh man, you can actually drive a ton of traffic to videos that, honestly, there's been a few videos that didn't do what they were supposed to do in our mind, that after we created YouTube shorts for them, they got hundreds of thousands of extra views, and they were posted last year. And so it can be a hybrid model.
So you cut the short, uploaded the short did well, related video.
Correct.
And then it revived the old video.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so the suggest and browse traffic started picking up on those videos, and it's almost like YouTube Shorts jumpstart. Even though they stop driving traffic to those videos, they jumpstart and like bring the life back to them, and then they continue gaining momentum. And so, yeah.
From my studies, the click-through rate though on the related video is never that high.
Oh no.
But YouTube Shorts could get a couple million views.
Exactly.
And so a 2% click-through rate or 1% on a couple million views is great. Mm-hmm. And then to your point, what you're doing there is you're just kind of priming the algorithm a little bit for browse and suggested.
Correct. Yeah. There's really 3 main benefits. One is exposure to the brand and the personality. The second thing is if they subscribe. The third thing is if they actually click the link at the bottom and go watch the full